What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fresh
Squeeze?
Podcast. First off, before we even get into it, I'd like to thank Iron for Brand and my boy Ant for hooking me up with this special edition Iron for shirt, purple tee. Got me looking good right here, man. I can't even lie. Appreciate you.
Definitely looks good on you, man.
Appreciate that, man. But today, man, to get into it, all the hoopers and like everybody out there has seen the Last Dance documentary about MJ and his 1998 Bulls. I'd say, for myself, I'm learning a lot and very entertained. And I'd say, it's very entertaining for everybody else watching and learn a lot about basketball history. I mean, I didn't know what was all going on. So really tune in on these Sundays, these next 4 weeks. It's going to go crazy. But speaking of that, man, it's kind of gave me the idea to talk about it, bro. I've been seeing some crazy things on social media, um, kind of about the GOAT debate and, just about the documentary in general. So I kind of, I was kind of curious to have your take on some of these things that I found. I kind of made a list.
Sure. Why not? Why not?
Yeah, and this is, I mean, it goes from everything from the documentary to, who's the GOAT. So, the guys that are usually in that conversation, and a lot of guys like to say LeBron. So there's kind of some arguments for him in there too.
All right. I mean, we'll see. We'll get into it.
So, I mean, me personally, I'm a Jordan is the GOAT fan. So I kind of know where you stand on it too. But so this may be interesting. I'm curious to see.
Yeah, let me go into Stephen A mode on y'all. There we go. All right.
First thing I found, man, they were saying that basically, LeBron didn't have help, and MJ had Pippen all those years, and that he couldn't win without Pippen.
So, like, when specifically, or is it just in general, LeBron didn't have help?
I mean, they say specifically, like, first of all, I think this is complete cap. They say Dwayne Wade was washed.
Whoa.
I'm saying,
All right. We can go ahead. We'll just move on past this, because that's not even an argument. I mean, LeBron is the one who joined two All-Stars, and he's the one who went back and joined Kyrie and got Kevin Love over there. And to argue that Wade was washed when LeBron got there or on the decline is just absolutely ridiculous. Because, I mean, you look back to that 2011 series against the Mavericks, Chris Bosh outscored LeBron. You know what I'm saying? So that would be like Rodman and Pippen outscoring Michael Jordan in a final series, and you're just not going to see that happen.
I mean, another thing they're even saying, like, some argue that Kyrie didn't even help them in the finals, even though he hit the game-sealing shot. They say he wasn't being productive in the finals other than like 2 games.
Well, Kyrie, I don't know the exact stats. I don't have them at, but Kyrie averaged 25, I'm pretty sure, or
Yeah.
something close to it. So, and I know Pippen didn't average no 25 for a final series. So,
It was talk crazy on here, man. The more stuff I found, man. Basically, what everybody said about the '90s Bulls is that the East were weak. That's why they kept, that's why they were contending every year. The East was just super weak.
oh man, I mean, you got to think Jordan dropped 63 on the best defense in the league
I
in the
mean,
playoffs in his second year, coming off of a foot injury, coming off of a broken foot.
and the thing about that is people even say that's, if everybody that doesn't know, that's Bird's team. Larry Bird's team. Larry led the legend Bird. And people say he's washed. He was washed during that. Like his team was washed.
He won MVP. He won MVP. How is he washed? He won MVP. Well, then in that case, that just strengthens Larry Bird's case on the pantheon of greats. If he was washed and still won the MVP, which, fun fact, Larry Bird was already having back problems. They were saying it took him about 2 hours to get ready. Like, he had to work with like a chiropractor and stuff to even be able to walk and run. And he was still winning MVP and championships. So that's impressive to me, man. I'm a big Larry Bird fan.
Yeah, I don't know where people are getting these, like, they're not even statistics. They're just like highly like promotable opinions, I guess. Like I don't understand it. Next one is that, I said on the East side, the Celtics were washed and Bird was washed. Then they're saying Magic was washed and his Lakers were washed.
Now, obviously, it wasn't prime Showtime Lakers, but to say Magic Johnson was washed, it's just ridiculous. You got to think the NBA is going to be the NBA, and there were some great teams in that Western Conference that, what I mean, you're not just making it out of the West.
Exactly.
If you're saying the East was weak, then the team that made it out of the West had to be elite. You know what I'm saying? The whole league wasn't just going to be trash.
It's common misconceptions, man. Like,
That's the problem with, a lot of guys just don't know their history
yeah.
and just kind of listen to guys like Shannon Sharp on,
Speaking,
on TV.
yeah, man. Speaking of that, man, he made this list for sure, bro. I was scrolling, and this guy said MJ gets praised. He said I've never seen a guy get praised more for losing than MJ.
What?
He said this man gets praised more for losing than anybody else he's ever seen.
I mean, look, I'm gonna try and keep my cool on this, man, but it's really tough because what? All right, so we look at the fact that LeBron even is in the discussion, which for me he's not. For me there really is no GOAT discussion. But the fact that people are saying he has a case for it already tells you that he's being celebrated for losing. I mean, his finals record is he 3-6 now? Is that right? 3-6. And I mean, some ugly losses on there too. So
I mean, LeBron, when I first read the post, LeBron is the first person I thought of. And it's like he constantly gets bailed out. Now, the one thing to tag along with that is, he had, the great 3-1 comeback, and everybody glorifies that. And that trumps the rest of the losses that he has in the finals. That trumps that's him over Jordan somehow.
absolutely not. I mean, Michael Jordan didn't go to Game 7 in the finals. Michael Jordan was also never the underdog, and people kind of try and give LeBron credit as, overcoming these odds. But the fact of the matter is, we're not talking about is LeBron a great all-time player? Did LeBron have a great career or anything like that? Because he definitely did. Definitely had a great career and is still having a great career and is still doing great things for the game. But we're talking about, the greatest career of all time, the GOAT. And so that's, those things matter, absolute dominance of the game, 6-0 in the finals, that just sounds to me like greatest of all time. 6 finals MVPs, greatest of all time. Never was the underdog in a final series. Like if he took a game winner, it was like, oh man, like, if he stepped on the court and said he was getting 50, everybody was like, oh my God, he's going to get 50. People like Larry Bird, in my opinion, a top 5 player of all time, calling this man God, greatest.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you guys watching, comment down below who you think the GOAT is, and any responses you have to these statements. I mean, if you're Team LeBron and you're one of those guys that, likes to rock with him and you roll with him, then let us know something. If you're with Jordan like us, let us know something. Interact.
This is how we're going to do it. If you are Team Jordan, hit that like button, hit the sub button right now, or else you're not Team Jordan for real. You're hitting the like button, the sub button, the notification bell, and comment Team Jordan in the chat. And if you Team LeBron, you're going to comment why you're Team LeBron, and then you're going to like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you can get some more information and more background and hopefully come to the right side.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to see a war in the comment section. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of want to see this. I want to see who's riding with who.
I can't get into it, man. I'd get too heated. I've had too many debates about this subject already.
Dang. I mean, all right. So this is actually I put this as one. Shout out to Rishi if you're watching this, man. This one is straight from you, so I'm exposing you. one of my teammates from North Carolina. We were talking about this, and we were going to talk about Jordan versus LeBron. And we watched a couple clips, Jordan's highlights, and he was saying like, bro, he's playing against a bunch of janitors and mailmen. Like, look at these guys, man. Look at these guys. They are all like running away from him and all that kind of stuff. I was just trying to explain to him, and he was like, "No, bro. LeBron is getting tackled, grappled, all types of stuff. He getting knocked out of the air, all of this, bro. And so he's the GOAT because of that. Because Jordan was supposedly playing against janitors and managers and teachers and stuff like that."
Isaiah Thomas, Clyde Drexler, Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal, Magic Johnson, James Worthy, Kareem, Dennis Rodman, Joe Dumars,
The whole Piston squad.
Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, John Stockton. These are all Hall of Fame players. All Hall of Fame players that Jordan was keeping from championships, man. Keeping them from championships, with the exception of Hakeem, because Hakeem was in the West and never faced Jordan in the finals, okay? But he didn't win one. I mean, Patrick Ewing, the list goes on, man. The list goes on. Reggie Miller. I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. You got to do better. You got to do better. Really got to do better.
And the thing is, if he was playing, like you said, he stopped all these guys from getting the championship. A lot of those guys are in the East. So if he's in the East and he's playing against a bunch of janitors, at some point they're gonna meet with the other guys that are supposed to have beaten the other janitors. So it's supposed to be them, and he still beat them out. So I'm not gonna get into it.
Well, this is one more thing, man. This is one more thing. Growing up, I was a huge Mavericks fan. Dirk Nowitzki is my favorite player of all time. 100%. No discussion. And I'd go to bat for him any day. But so that means I watched the entire 2011 series. And you want to know who was guarding LeBron
Sorry,
at the time?
People know, man.
Jason Terry, man. I saw a stat. I saw a stat today. Y'all can look that up. Fact check it. It said a 40-year-old Michael Jordan averaged like 3 or 4 more points per game, and like he averaged, it was all the stats, and his stats were all higher, percentages, everything was higher. 40-year-old Michael Jordan than LeBron in 2010, 2011 against Jason Terry. Both, so they compared each of their stats against Jason Terry. I mean, Jason Terry. And the thing about that was, man, Jason Terry was going at him on both ends. Mm-hmm. And when Jason Terry wasn't guarding him, like a 37, 38-year-old Jason Kidd was. Mm-hmm. And when he wasn't guarding him, they put Sean Marion on him and Deshaun Stevenson. Sean Marion was already on the tail end of his career. The only one, Deshaun Stevenson, was never really a great player, always a solid piece, but, he wasn't in his prime anymore. I'd say his prime was probably in Washington. So, you look at that, there was no Kawhi Leonard on that team. Why do you have your worst performance in the finals by far against, the least imposing matchup possible, For me, like as a Dirk fan, if LeBron is so great and Dirk outclassed him to that degree, then why is Dirk not a top 10 player of all time by other people's estimation? You know, this is going to be a two-part show. I think we need to kind of get into that because I know you're a D-Wade fan, and his legacy is kind of, tossed around as well due to LeBron in a lot of ways.
I'd say, I mean, even for me, D Wade was just like my first favorite player, and still to this day, my overall favorite player. And we'll talk about it more, in part two of this. But even he is saying Jordan is the GOAT. And he is his own teammate. He
Not only
played
teammate, but also like one of his best friends.
exactly. Like if he's saying that, he's seen that firsthand, day in, day out, work with the man, and he's saying it about somebody he just watched and idolized growing up. You know what I'm saying? Like it's different. Like he's seen greatness firsthand, so he knows what that is. He's seen LeBron play and all that, and it's still not measuring what he thinks, like what the perception is of Jordan in his mind. Like, come on, man. I mean, that's the first. That should confirm it. Honestly, to me.
I think it does. I think it does. A couple of other arguments I've heard is that LeBron is the more well-rounded player, but for me, you know, Jordan's PER for his career is higher. Uh, more first team all defense appearances and a defensive player of the year. You know, it's really not close. It's really not close at all. At all. And that's no disrespect to LeBron at all. But, when you look at it objectively, it's not even close. Now, this is the type of thing. This is the type of thing. So, I think you could possibly, I'm still going with Jordan, but you could possibly make a case that LeBron is a better player than Jordan, like, a better player, better basketball player. You could possibly make that. I'm not on board with that. But for me, the consensus, and we'll get into my passion for Dirk in this next part. But like for me, I'm taking Dirk over Tim Duncan,
Mhm.
ability wise. I feel like if you put Dirk on the Spurs have more success. I feel like they become an actual dynasty and win back to back to back or whatever. But at the same time, I can't argue that Dirk's legacy is greater
Mhm.
because he just doesn't have the accolades that match up with it.
I feel like that's what people don't understand when they think, when they hear greatest of all time. They hear GOAT and they're like, okay, who's the best basketball player of all time? And honestly, like it's a double-edged sword. Like you have to have obviously you have to be skill wise and the way you affect the game. You have to do that at a high level, like at a story, like a Hall of Fame level. But also on this side of it, you have to have the accolades in order to tie in your legacy. There's tons of great basketball players. I mean, even the taller you are, the tallest guys that were able to dribble, that were quote unquote demigods, that were really skilled, they're Hall of Famers, but they're not in the GOAT conversation. Guys that would tore up the league, even like smaller stature guys. There's tons of guys that killed. Allen Iverson, you can go down the list. Allen Iverson, Magic. No one's saying Magic is the greatest. All that type of stuff, man. It's about the accolades, and I feel like Jordan is in there because he's the perfect mesh of that. That's why he is what he is.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's about, okay, you have all of this ability, right? But what did you accomplish using that ability?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If I'm, you know what I'm saying, like if my IQ is the highest on the planet, but I work at Starbucks, not saying that, that compares to what LeBron has done because it doesn't. But I just work at Starbucks with my IQ. I can't say, I deserve to be mentioned with the likes of Stephen Hawking and Albert Einstein. It just doesn't make sense. But we're kind of running out of time here for part one. So we'll take a little break, and today will be a double upload. So the link will already be in the description of part two. Just scroll on down, sub, like, comment, hit the noti bell, and we'll see y'all in part two. This has been the Fresh
Squeeze.
Podcast. See y'all in a second.
It's time to write your story. Time to let your imagination go. Where do you want to live? What car do you want to drive? What places do you want to see? It's all up to you now. It's your story to write. Leave the story of your past behind and write a new one. And be ready to live what you write, because this story will be like no other. But it will share one thing with all of their stories. This story will start with a hero, and that hero is you.